show.
Laura Lee. Laura Lee did that. Don't blame it on me. Anyway, we're live. Hello, everyone. We're blaming Laura Lee for shit she said no to. Welcome to the Paranormal Talk today, guys. Sorry. I was busy picking on Laura Lee when we went live. I can't help it. But anyway, welcome to Paranormal Talk. We're going to be talking about disclosure and extraterrestrials, what may come out of it, if anything's going to come out of it. Can we expect anything to come out of it? Can we ever expect the poor Canadians to be freed? I think we need to start free the Canadian thing.
Free Canada,
oh,
man.
wait, there is hope. Wait. On a funny and on a side note, so there was a report from the border today. There was 15,000 women lined at the border trying to get across into Canada to go get y'all's little kid up there, a whitey guy who's on TikTok. They were lining up to go. There's going to be a revolution, people.
I saw him. Thank you, Linda.
Poor Canadians. The American women are coming. The middle-aged American women are coming for y'all. That's just scary in itself, man. You know, they're gun-toting, too, by the way. You just thought I warn you Mounties up there. These women down here in the South carry big guns, man.
And Linda's probably leading the pack.
What can you do if
this kid is insane? How many people like this guy? And every time she tells me, I'm like, who? Whitey, what? I said, did the brothers put up with him being called Whitey? Like, what the hell's going on? Oh, but I understood when she was in Canada.
Set him up with my daughter.
Anyway, guys and girls, welcome to the show. And if you don't know what we're talking about, just go on TikTok, type in Whitey, and you'll find out. I have not personally seen every woman who's seen say, oh my God, he's beautiful. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you can make some money being pretty, I'm all for it. You know, I got no problem with it.
the drugs are kicking in?
What was that, Laura?
They can have them.
Yeah. As long as he's keeping his clothes on, I'm all fine with it. The ones that scare me is like one of the things came up on my TikTok page the other day. How can I say this politely? There's no way I can say this politely. Just some really big mama who's rolling around in her bikini, and I was like, first I want to know how I got on my TikTok. And then I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. That would be if I was out there. Do y'all want to see me in bikini? Really? I mean, other than making a joke out of it, do y'all really want to see me in a bikini? It would just be scary. I'm just saying, man. Some people should not wear bikinis. I'm just saying, you know, they got other kind of. And I'm sure the Gray's got a particular giggle out of it.
Bicycle pants.
Oh, I got a friend of mine used to drive me crazy with them parachute pants, man. I was like, dude, your ass is too big for the things. See, we're talking about aliens tonight, just in case y'all couldn't tell that with the first time.
Aliens have skinny little asses. Are there any fat aliens, do you think?
Yes, there are, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I don't think they wear parachute pants, though. As far as I haven't seen
I'd
any.
They get fat on like
gray
American
and some
food.
parachute pants.
That would be, busting a move on the stage. That'd be, anyway. It's a friend of mine wrote me the other day because he caught Michelle and I showing he's going on and on about ET and ET this and ET that, and I'm like, dude. I said, they're here, deal with it. I said, look, apparently they don't want to invade us. They're not here to eat us and kill us. I said, they're not trying to change our government or change even our way of life. I said, they're just here. I said, they're doing a little more than observing, but they're not really here to, how can I say it, set us straight. That's not their job. Their job is to hope that humans set our own selves straight. And if we do, fine, we survive. And if we don't survive, they'll finally get a new planet. This is a no-lose situation for the aliens that are visiting this planet. If we can maintain a proper civilization and really expand in the cosmos, they'll be really happy to let us into their civilizations and into their groups. And if we can't, we wipe ourselves out. Like I said, they get a new beautiful planet that they can turn back pretty pristine in no time at all. So, I mean, in our grand scheme of time, it's probably several lifetimes, but in theirs, it's probably a drop of a day or something. So it's I don't think they really concern themselves with that overall. I mean, and it does seem like some aliens, when you listen to contactees talk, seem like they do want to see mankind flourish and become something greater. But there does seem to be like the human aliens, with the exception of a handful of humans, they really don't give a good bleep if the rest of them make it or not. I think the Greys are the same way. I think the Greys only really care about their contactees. I don't think they really care if the rest of the population survives. Kind of bothers me a little bit, because most humans want the population to survive. But I don't think in their case, I really think they only figure that maybe 1.5 billion of us are worth keeping around. The rest of us are just taking up space.
And not even keeping us here, I don't think. I think they would sort of think about taking us off the planet if they did that.
When you hear contactees talk about their societies, they seem to be structured different than ours. So even growing up as a kid, you have X amount of responsibilities. Of course, in our societies, you don't. Our children, only certain types of parents put responsibilities on their children. I was bad about it. I didn't make my son go to work till he's 15. I said, get your ass and get a job. I still gave money anyway. But the thing of it is these the aliens seem to be different. They seem to be like it's like part of their education. I guess because they're so much older know so much more than we do. Their education must have to start at a much younger age than ours. And I imagine X amount of that's genetic memory. But still, just the vast amount more of data they're going to put in their heads than we are. I imagine they start their educations at a much earlier age. And I imagine there's more. It kind of would be like growing up like Prince Harry. There we go. We'll use Prince Harry. In a good way, not a bad way, okay? We'll use Prince Harry. Growing up, he had duties and responsibilities from birth. Until he left the family, he had duties, just like the other prince does. He has duties and responsibilities every day of his day since he was a child. And I think in their cases, that's how their children are raised. Reptilians for sure, and the Greys for sure. They seem to be that way. I guess there's just less chance that your child's going to go astray or move away. And I guess it can become dogmatic after a while, because if you're following in your parents or grandparents or great-grands' footsteps, eventually it's got to get boring, huh? Or maybe it doesn't matter to them. Maybe they don't perceive boring in the way humans do. They might not need that constant, whatever it is that we need. That what is it? Sound, movement, sight, smell, all of that. We need all of that as humans. We need everything going on around us all the time. Humans are just not happy if things are sitting too still, unless like when Michael was a priest, that was different. He used to sit there and be like this all day. But that was a very long time ago.
Very dark priest. So how do you know that this isn't like hell and the aliens are just freaking demons and they're kind of keeping us in check? How do you know that?
I can tell you it's not hell because I don't get to torture enough people. Now, if I get to torture a lot more people than I do in this lifetime, then maybe it could be hell, at least for somebody else.
It's still very containing. I mean,
I always said that Earth, if I had to put it in religious context, I always thought Earth would have been purgatory.
See, that's the thing too, religion. So what happens if, eventually people realize that all the stuff that they believe in and beliefs are very difficult to kind of dismiss as bullcrap, or the aliens come down and they're all Jewish. That'd be funny as hell.
Man, I'll be Muslim as far as we know. I know it's
Mel Brooks would be like, I knew it.
I know it's none of our religions because they kind of laugh about our religions. They make jokes about it and stuff. So
do we have a religion? Do you guys? I think we're kind of the same.
Well, no, I mean they don't.
We're spiritual, but we're not religious.
But right? if you look at the way the aliens interact directly with the human people, they don't seem to think that our religion has any consequence to it. I mean, they don't think that our God is real. They think it's a figment of our imagination.
Well, we don't fear a creator, if you want to look at it like that.
I fear them two bitches right there all the time, man. See, I don't know who I was talking about because you don't know who I was pointing at. I'm sorry, I was just evil. On so many levels, that was evil. I might have been talking about these two down here staring at me from the ground. Speaking of which, I have disowned Fiona. She's no longer mine. I gave her Linda. She's an evil dog. She's a traitor.
I'm talking about Fiona.
She's a traitor. Y'all seen her in her basket yesterday. She's a traitor.
Cute.
She
was in lockdown. You see, now I know how Unitarians feel. She was in lockdown.
Yeah, so you gave her a brownie.
Baby
she was
girl.
Oh, before we get back to what we were talking about, this was funny. So we had some store. We're coming out. I think it was in Buc-ee's, actually. We're coming out. And this guy looked down. I guess he wanted to see the baby, right? And he looked down, he stopped, he looked at him right there, and turned around to make sure what he saw. But yeah, it's just my beast, man. I was like, I said, and she don't even make a sound when she's in store. She's quiet. She moves around a lot because she wants to see what's going on, but she's as quiet as can be. You don't even know she's in there. She's all like, yeah, staring at you when you walk by. I got her up next to the food counter. She's like, yeah, this smells really good. Yeah, I'm sure they would have loved knowing I had a dog in it. Oh, people, if y'all listening tonight, know we didn't have any dogs at Buc-ee's with us yesterday. Actually, I'm teasing. They let you bring your pets in. They don't care. And you know who else is pet friendly is extraterrestrials.
Are they?
Look at that segue. Yes, they are very pet friendly.
Chupacabra.
When they take you, they like to take your pet. Well, if I clarify, if you're at home, they don't take your pet with you. But if you're anywhere else and they take you and your pet's with you, they take their pet with you.
That's good to hear.
So I could just see a little kid. I could just see Max standing on my chest, growling at the Gray, going, "Yeah, you think so, buddy?"
Touch my dad.
Knock it out, man. The Gray more scared of him than me. He's like, "Knock that little thing out." He takes a finger off. Oh man, them dogs are vicious. It's funny though because I get a lot of people who write to me about disclosure, and with one of the comments I see go in the chat from William, it's in a way disclosure has happened. It's happened for certain people in the government, certain people in the military, and all abductees / contactees. So it's been a large disclosure, probably a billion, 2 billion people. But the problem is the general population hasn't been disclosed to. And both the aliens, and I hate to say this, the abductees and the government don't think that group of people need to know.
Well, who the hell are they, though? And what do they know? Look at the government. Oh, my God, really?
They just don't think the rest of the world needs to know for
Well,
some
if
reason.
you're a higher intelligence, you can look at these people and know exactly what they are.
Mm.
You cannot trust them, not in any way, shape, or form. And basically, and when it comes to, what, maybe they want to kind of say, hey, we're here, and there's something bigger, and that could even unite the planet. A lot of good can come from it, but they're out there more. We're noticing them more because our systems are becoming more sophisticated. Raytheon's coming up with better radar systems. There's more cameras around, that are better, right? So, and we're going out to Mars. We're doing things like that. So it's only a matter of time.
Everybody's got a camera phone. It's either.
Don't you want to know what that was? Don't you want to know what those Navy planes were chasing down? It was moving. It was incredible. Those movements, but it's not impossible. I was talking to a physicist, and if you have a gravity bubble, if you can create a gravity bubble, then gravity doesn't affect you. You can go as fast as you want. Basically, no G forces on your body. So maybe it's our own technology, and we're screwing with people, saying, "Ha ha! Look what we've got," because these things are swarming aircraft carriers. Talk about breach of security.
And it's probably ours though, because we've had swarm technology for 10 years
it's
now.
just like freaking Close Encounters of the Third Kind, man. Where these ice cream cone shapes and these cylinders and they're all different shapes. They're all different geometric shapes.
Yeah, what's not a big thing?
Very interesting.
Have you not? Look, right now you can get a drone. You can get a drone yourself. Now this ain't military class.
I'm not talking about drones.
But listen. You can get them that look like birds. You can get them that look like little round balls that hover. You can get them that look like several things. They even got some that you can walk around at. They got one that's a dog. They got an ant. They got a roach. Dude, you can make drones out of it. You'd be surprised what you can make it. And the guy who invented the swarm technology, this wasn't even a military thing. He invented this about 12 years ago.
No, I'm talking.
He started taking these little round dish shapes. They were about 16 inches around at the time. He would fly 2,000 at a time and make them do maneuvers that you've never seen anything do except for a UFO before. So that's what I've been telling people for the last 5 years. You got to be careful now when you see something do a maneuver that you don't think we can do, because some of our drones can do those maneuvers now. They just can't do those speeds. Do
you think the military will come out and say, hey, these are drones and we can't catch it with our F-15s and we're idiots?
No, they've already said that. They said they can't catch them with the F-22s.
Because these things go they went from 80,000 feet down to sea level in 2 seconds. That's not a drone.
No, what I'd like to know, talking about government, is when did it change? Because when we go back to the majority of ancient civilizations where the entire communities were well aware of extraterrestrials, called them gods, emulated them, and it worked both ways. The communities benefited from having them there. They assisted, they taught them stuff. When the hell did that change? And all of a sudden government goes, no, we're going to keep this a secret and nobody benefits. Like, when did that change?
Well, we had enemies that could obtain those technologies and use them against us. These days,
ancient cultures, they had others. Like, they weren't all one big community.
The Industrial Revolution and got into the governments that we're in and stuff, that this is when this decision was pretty well made.
Well, World War II, I guess, would be a good example of alien intervention.
If you want to pick a time for a decision, I would think either the time when Egypt was building its pyramids or when the Toltecs was starting the whatchamacallit civilizations in South America, because they were paying favorites. The aliens, let's look at it from this point of view. The aliens were playing favorites on this planet. We can try to deny it, but we know the Nazcan lines are down there. We know that the people were boarding their children to make them look like the aliens.
They were horny.
No, we just know. This is what was going on there. This was serious stuff.
The elephant in the room is Adolf Hitler, because it was Hitler who went and searched for this kind of technology, for anything even mythological, whatever. He put the people out there. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was just because he wanted to know, or just to manipulate and use. But that's when technology bounced. it bounced. And then there you go. There's also something called reverse design. You know, that if something did crash and they took it, they could definitely learn from it, right?
Well, I don't think anything ever crashed. I don't think it's. To be totally honest, Roswell was a complete farce. There was nothing real there, and it's not what went down. What actually happened is in 1913 or 1911, the Germans were contacted by one of the races. Most people think it was the Greys because of the type of ship, but that's not who it was, because the Greys would have never gave crazy Hitler one of their ships.
Tall Greys, maybe.
Yeah. No, it was the human aliens, because he describes them later on in his book, Von Kampf. So if you read the book, you can actually get quite a bit of insight on that. It was definitely an alien race that intervened. So at the turn of the century before last, Germany was the most advanced country on the planet, by far, much more than anybody in Europe or America. There was nobody competing with them at all. America was at least 30 years behind. Europe was at least 60 years behind. So they were kind of like, they just had their own thing. So if you're an advanced race and you're looking to meet with the advanced culture, Germans had just come out of World War I. They were pretty solid now. They had pretty solid advanced technologies, and they were on their way to designing new things that nobody was thinking about. So, yes, they got their hands in the sauce. So we know this because from 1911 to 1916, the Germans built 7 UFO prototypes that were on display for everybody to see. One was a tank that looked like a UFO that had these weird guns that came out of it on 4 sides. And the thing hovered like it was trying to take off, like it hopped. They had 2 that actually flew. They have no idea what they were. But the rumor was that at the end of the war, when the war ended and we were stealing scientists and stealing technology, we picked up the saucer. We got it before the Russians got to it. And we brought it back to the United States. And according to all the contactees who've ever asked the Greys about this, what happened at Roswell was a real simple thing. The Greys said, okay, you got the ship. I think it was probably like a cargo ship or a transport or something. It wasn't anything really advanced with weaponry. So they said, yeah, we'll let you keep it if you can figure out how to work it. So humans, being that we're insane ingenuity, we figured out how to get the thing off the ground. So great. So we've had to watch. Anyway, long story short, the way you know this is true is when the ship came down at Brazel's Ranch, there were 3 bodies found, and one was supposed to be alive, and they were gray. But it was a big debris field, so anything that can traverse intercontinental space is not going to break up an impact. It's going to stay intact. It's not going to break up. The materials made to be able to take micrometeorites are not going to break up when it hits our planet. No scientists even argue about that. So this thing's just spread all over. This sounds like an escape craft that came out of the main craft. Well, and what was the other town? About 90 miles away, there was another craft that was found, intact, whole, with 3 pink bodies that looked almost melted. They called them human-looking. And the way we know this is there was 3 Boy Scouts and somebody else that was there that witnessed the whole event. They made the report, and 3 days later, all 4 of them disappeared. Nobody ever heard from them.
I know that town called Shitsville.
No, it's actually I can't remember. I have to look at it. It's actually a bigger town than Roswell too. It's oh man,
Really?
It's actually a bigger town, dude. It's a big old place. But
Where's Dell, man? We need his
Dell's
skeptical
pregnant.
kind of.
Well, no.
He's
letting him out?
nursing his alien baby. And
again?
he don't want you to see his 4th nipple. Now, not leave the poor boy alone. It's just scary. Or he's back in the cage
guys,
again.
I gotta run anyways. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm on another show. Have a good show. I will talk to you later. Love y'all.
Be good. Let's see. What the hell is that?
And then there was 3.
Yeah. Well, I only sent out.
Look at my little head in between you guys.
I
Man.
know he's got to change this.
It's like you guys shrunk my head.
Hey, wait, why are we in this mode anyway? How do we pop back in the hammer?
There we go. That's better. That's
It
better.
was that mode was insane.
I felt kind of squeaky there for a minute, man.
I was looking the other day when one of my friends from MUFON wrote to me about, because he knew we were going to be talking with Gary over there on Friday. Gary Haslin, he said, so you think another new organization is going to change anything as far as getting the truth out or getting somebody to do some more? I said no, because I've been saying this for 2 decades. You're not going to get the truth. You're not even going to get any disclosure until you give the government what they want. And so far, ufology is too ignorant or just pure stupid to figure it out. And it's not even complicated.
He totally dissed MUFON, actually.
Oh, he did. He don't like MUFON. Nobody likes MUFON.
Yeah, but that's but like, who the hell is he, man? I don't know. Whatever.
No, he's a 38-year veteran ufologist. So he can dish MUFON if he wants to, and MUFON has it coming. I mean, MUFON's the black hole of Calcutta. Everything goes in, nothing ever comes out. They haven't even. Their biggest conclusion was that UFOs are real, meaning unidentified flying objects are real, not aliens. They've never even ever said aliens existed. They leave that to their poor directors and everybody else. They want as an organization endorse. That's why Bigelow dropped them. But they produced absolutely zero. Bigelow spent 250 G's with them, and they produced a big whopping zero. Nothing at all. He was more interested in what we sent him from one of the research packets we did than he did anything he learned from his words.
The Navy gave better information than anybody ever. So did NASA, So these are all the sources people should be looking to. If these guys really think they can crack a safe and figure things out, come on, man. I mean, it's a grand notion and everything, but there's a lot going on. Put it that way, and we all know that.
But there's only one true way for disclosure. And
well, do you think there's going to be a major, both of you, do you think there's going to be a major announcement, like something that's going to shock you, like, or say like, wow, I can't believe they said that?
I wish.
No, I don't think so. It's like I said the last show. I think we'll get more information or better information from everyday people as they walk around with camera phones and cameras, and they just happen to be in the right place at the right time. And they share it up right away. I think where that gets difficult, however, is being able to tell the fraudulent stuff from the real stuff, because unfortunately technology has allowed people to basically be very creative, shall we say. So you can't trust everything that you're seeing. But then again, you can't trust necessarily everything you're seeing with the government either.
And what bothers me more about any of that is the fact that there are, 4 billion cell phones on the planet today, and the amount of UFO pictures have gone down, not up.
Well, people are busy with selfies, man.
But how many things do you think are being censored?
It's not that. I mean, because we all have social media accounts, so we can publish it. And if it gets on somebody's account and it's good, it'll go viral, and you can't stop something once it's going viral.
We've gotten to a point of where we hit the wall, and there's got to be something on the other side. The other side is having the conversation, making contact, the conversation. That's the next level. And then once people realize that, then that's a whole new era. You're changing everything forever. Humans will never be the same, but that has to happen. Otherwise, I saw this UFO, I saw that, but without knowing why and what and even where or our origins, I think that it could solve a lot of problems, or maybe create a whole bunch more. I love the chaos theory.
Well, I mean, I guess you have to ask yourself too. I mean, do people see it? Do people just not care? Is it a thing? I always look at, and I've run into this in the paranormal field for, the years I've been working. Somebody will get some photograph and think it's $1 million photograph. They don't want to share it because they think they're going to make a boatload of money off of it. Whereas I've never been weird. I just share my shit. It's like, whatever, it's there. You look at people such as Nikola Tesla, for example, who didn't share up any information, we'd be no further ahead. Unless somebody was stealing it, basically.
I put my pictures out there. People, they're like, "Ooh, it's cool," but it's not that next level. It's just it's an affirmation.
Sure.
But you want to hit that next level, and that's what. So whatever they announce.
Same with UFOs.
Yeah, it'll be the same old. I think.
But so we've all seen photos and videos that would, if it was in a courtroom, it would be okay. That's irrefutable evidence.
Yeah.
And you're going to win. But for some reason, in popular opinion, UFO or paranormal can't win out. Even though they're both extremely popular and well watched, they just still can't seem to win out, which tells you, and I've tried to explain this to people, we're just, as a society, we're just not that far along yet. We just don't believe that far. The majority of the world doesn't really believe these things exist. They want to, or some of us want to, but the majority still, out of the 7.5 billion of us here, I'm really thinking maybe 5.5 billion are kind of like, nah, we don't really believe in that crap. Because if it was more than that, it would be easier to get it going. The media would have to pay attention. In other words, we'll just look the North American continent: Mexico, the United States, and Canada. We know the United States is pretty big in the paranormal, probably 30, 40, 50 million people follow. Mexico's got about 180 million people, probably about 50, 60 million people follow it there too. Canada, probably about half the population does. But that still leaves in our own societies, 2/3 of our population isn't watching or listening. So they just have no interest in and I never can, I can understand if you think it's just fake outright, and you just don't want to be bothered. But if you really have any interest in science at all, and you think that there might be something in space or there might be something weird going on,
Or they're
you
scared.
would at least check it out.
You think
But
they're
do you
afraid?
think they know what
At
they're
least I'm
seeing?
afraid.
I'll give you an example. Driving home last night, I look up into the sky. It's dark. There's this bright light that just shows up, bright light, and it goes really bright, and then just boom, gone.
Justin Trudeau riding his broom,
I'm
shooting
just
across
Might
saying.
have
the
been
sky.
Justin.
I'm just saying. You see
Right.
something like that, it's some sort of an anomaly. Is it, but I mean, things like that, something comes in, you just see this something traveling, all of a sudden it goes super bright and then disappears.
That's
So
the thing.
if you guys saw that, what would you think it is? And what would the average person think it is?
I would have thought was what they call them, an E-log, E-cola, what the hell ever they call them. There's a type of meteorite that comes in, and then when it hits a certain point, it gets a gas and it pops, makes like a brilliant flash, and then it just disappears.
Still an anomaly, though.
Oh no, it is, and it still would be classified as a UFO.
Would most people even notice? Do you think?
No, that's what I'm saying. Most people are going to look up. I ask people all the time. I said, "Have you ever seen a UFO?" And they're like, "No." I said, "Do you know what UFO means?" They're like, "Yeah, alien." I said, "No, it means unidentified flying object." I said, "So you're telling me if I point up in the sky right there, you're going to tell me exactly what that is?" Well, it's an airplane. I said, "Well, prove it." And they're like, "What do you mean? What else can it be?" I said, "It could be a lot of other things." I said, Can you prove to me that's an airplane?" And they're like, "No." I said, "Well, I can. I can pull up airport monitor and see." Said, "Look," I said, "It's flight 778 and it's headed to Las Vegas." I said, "So I can tell you that." Now I said, "You see these two dots over here that I saved for you? There is no flight record for these two." Which means they don't belong to the Air Force or any type of military, because even classified flights are still marked classified, or a lot of times you'll have, it says government transponder, it doesn't say anything else, so it's a classified flight going out of somewhere, and sometimes even then it'll give you its destination, which is kind of weird. And you do see, you see international flights. It's a lot easier to track. So I tell people all the time, I said, look, everybody should have this on their phone. I said, if you're anywhere and you see something that's weird, because like in Utah was strange, because where we were at Area 51, off on a distance about 80, maybe about an hour and a half away, so about 160 miles away, was Las Vegas. And you could see this brilliant glow. And then if you look in a square from where we were at, more like a diamond, really, you would see these weird angled flight patterns coming in from 5 different directions. Well, we knew where they were going. They were going all to the same place, Las Vegas Airport. That's where they were going. So there was no doubt what they were. Every now and then you would see this blue or red thing, even the green one once in a while, just come like crisscross across them. So when we would look it up, it was nothing there. It said nothing existed. There was no radar image taken by anybody. When you would question even local, because we learned some tricks a long time ago when doing this. You can go to like small airports and ask them if they had seen anything on their radar. Instead of trying to go to one of the big national airports or even the military ports, you can catch these local ones and they'll say, "Oh, we've seen something tracking this at such and such time." And you've got it on radar that you can authenticate. Then you can go to one of the bigger airports and say, "Hey, such and such picked this up. Can you verify this?" And most times they'll just go ahead and verify it because they're busted. They're not going to tell you what it is, but at least you'll know it was a flight that we can correlate. But if we go there and there is nothing and we still got it on tape, well, then we know it's probably something not from around here. But it's just part of research. And I tell people all the time, take your time. Everybody's got to do scientific research in some shape, form, or fashion, or no one's ever going to believe. And it shouldn't be about believing. It should be about knowing. But unfortunately, it's about believing.
Mm-hmm.
It's even though I tell people every day, this isn't God we're talking about, people. Even when we're talking about demons, it still ain't God we're talking about.
Well, now, I mean, it's a rename to be more specific, unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
So it's not an air balloon, unidentified flying object. It's a little bit different,
They just wanted to change the name, no, because they want to get UFO away from it. Is what they want to do. They're trying. Basically, what they're doing here is going to try to re-educate the millennials and the Z-Gens, because everybody above that, you're not going to change the way they look at this.
Yeah.
You can change your mind by using these things in terms. You can change it, and what they'll do is then they'll just fade back, and those terms will just fade away, and there won't be any more UFO UGAP unless something big happens.
But we've all been fed on science fiction since what, the 50s, 40s, whatever,
Way earlier than that.
Yeah, I mean, people are well aware that there could be something. They just want to make sure it's not dangerous. That's all.
Well, everything's dangerous in some shape, form, or fashion.
Hey, there are places you don't want to go in the United States because it's so dangerous. You may not make it out. Those no aliens, illegal aliens, maybe.
No, no. But and I was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day, and she says, "Well, because she's heard me talking about the desensitization program before, and she goes, well, Joe, that's only been going on since the first." Oh, no, no, no. I said, "This has been going on since about 500 BC." I said, "But the program really picked up around in the late mid 1700s, right after the Middle Ages. It really, really started to pick up in there, and you can see it like with authors like Jules Verne, who was born in 1725 or something, or 1825.
Mhm.
You have several authors that were born in these areas in here that wrote massive amounts of sci-fi novels dealing with things like landing on the moon, which last I checked, we didn't do until 69. I mean, they were leaps and bounds ahead of where we are today and the way they thought about things. So, and there was a good bit. Hey, Leah, there was a good bit of scientists, like Galileo and a few others around at the time, that seemed to have a keen interest in where we were going. But that was stomped out by religion. Religion made sure that little uprising, that little brush fire that could have revolutionized science for us by 5, 6, maybe 800 years, was
Yet,
stomped out.
religion in the Old Testament has mention of UFOs
They
and
do.
extraterrestrials and abductions. So, it's just like the whole control thing comes on board, and all of a sudden, it's all taboo. It's all a big secret.
My first mouth popping by a sister was when I said the Bible was written by men for the control of men. I was in second grade, by the way. She popped the little piss out of me. I mean, it was one of the rules. Whack! I was like, whoa.
Don't challenge the power.
That's what
You don't want people to
yeah,
challenge.
they ain't shitting either. And then I remember the day a couple of months later. Well, actually, it was next year. Next year, I had asked a priest. I said, "Well, where did God come from?" He's like, "Well, what do you mean? God was always." I said, "Well, wait. I'm confused." So now remember, I'm only a third grader now. So God always existed, but there was nothing but God. And I'm thinking to myself, that's an awful, that's not an existence. What the hell is that? You're the only thing. And then so I had issues with that. And then I should never ask that question because I got popped on the hand like 6 times for asking that question. Just some things they didn't want you to answer, but it was
He
true.
didn't say, "Hey, reach in my pocket, man. I got a quarter in there for you."
No, my daddy told me if they ever did that, so you know what I'm so. Apparently, he grew up with Catholic priests too.
Watch out for those Catholic priests. They're tricky. Tricky they are.
It was funny though, amongst parishioners. Even
See, that's what you get for insulting Jesus.
I wouldn't insult Jesus because I think Jesus was something entirely different. But still, the other part, as far as the Bible goes, I had a fundamental issue with it. I mean, it wasn't written by God. It wasn't even inspired by God. It was like 500 years after his death, after Jesus' death.
Would God really write his own book?
He might have, but not
You always
like
get
that.
ghost writer,
Well,
the Holy Ghost.
I'm not thinking. It's like the whole Adam and Eve thing. So Eve was a second-class citizen from day one, but nowhere did I ever hear God said that Eve was a second-class citizen. I only ever heard the priest say that.
What about his first? What about Adam's first girl? What about that?
Lilith, the one that went to hell.
Yeah.
But see, nobody's supposed to know about that, Michael. Nobody's supposed to know about Lilith. That's not. Shh, you're gonna get us all put in trouble. I mean, so we'll be in purgatory
That's
for
a
another 100
really
years.
deep conversation that goes
It is, not
far
for this show,
beyond
but-
what
I've done
mainstream
shows about
media
it.
teaches you.
I've
Yes,
done shows
exactly.
about it, and it's very
Exactly.
interesting
It
reading
is.
reading that type of stuff.
We got
how Eve went out and to give solace to Lilith at one point, And it was actually part of my comedy routine, and I was like the first lesbians, like an Adam still sitting there with nobody type of thing.
Wow.
But they vilified her. They made her into Satan's wife and all her spawn, and they went so far they took her out of the Bible and then referenced her as to this dark force. But in the Torah, it's mentioned, and also in the Quran. So very interesting how Lilith was honored and talked about, but not in the Bible.
And so were a lot of the ancient gods, which were basically renamed as demonics.
Yep.
Yeah, they had
it goes deep with that. It's a different show.
Well,
they don't want to get in the way of power, man.
Well, that's because they didn't want to see. The priests knew that if they let this one exist or that one exist, people would just gather around it because it was part of the old way. So they had to do away with it. And
they gather around and have fun.
Yeah, well, that was the whole point. They didn't want you having fun. They didn't want you even having sex. Jesus, man, these were the priests we talking about. They weren't allowed
Come
to
on,
have sex, but nobody else should have
Lilith
had it.
wanted to be on top. It said, "Man, I'm all for that." I'm 6'5", of course. There are things that make sense. She wanted equality. What's wrong with that? But isn't it funny how that original story goes back to the story of equality? Isn't that funny? And it was Muhammad said men and women enter heaven equally. When people took what Muhammad said and twisted it around to their crazy ideology, like, like the same thing for all these things, man. You know how it goes. They just use it to destroy.
But see, that's the other problem. The aliens don't believe in our heaven or hell or our God. So is it even real? We might be worried about something that doesn't even exist.
They like sex. They had plenty of sex.
Who are you talking about? The Greys don't have any sex, man. What are you talking about? They're like priests.
Well, maybe they're like robots, man. You ever think like AI? They're not even real. They're just synthetic.
They're not. They have synthetic aliens, but they're not. Unfortunately for us, they're not.
Well, I don't know.
Now, the reptilians and humans,
until I dissect
that's where the stories of the Bible come from the reptilians and the humans.
Until I dissect them and steal their ship, I won't know.
Yeah, you will. Just when they come by, I ask them next time, say, hey, can I take a peek? They don't mind. They're not.
Just exactly what kind of disclosure we discussed.
I'm going to tell them, reach in my pocket. I got a quarter in there.
Mike's going to prison now, man.
Are we really talking about here?
Mike's going to prison. Yeah, we're going to start the Freedom Mike Prison Fund here.
That's how they used to catch monkeys. They would put food in a log, right, with a little hole. The monkey would stick his hand through, grab it, and then not understand it had to release his hand to get away. That's how we get half our politicians, man. Jesus.
Man, we got some idiots.
We use money.
Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand.
All right. What's the topic? Aliens.
And that topic is disclosure, actually. Now I just had seen a couple of emails. Let me move this so I can see the screen.
You're closely connected to all those guys. Do you hear any word coming from people like what the report could have?
I'll tell you what I've heard from my friends in the government and my friends that not so much that are in government but in other positions. We'll just say they don't really. They're kind of on the leaning point that disclosure has happened for the people that it needs to happen for.
Right.
So they're not so much against this. This is where this gets really query. They're not against disclosure, but they're not going to volunteer it. They're not going to just come out and tell us. So, like they said, the Pentagon's going to release some more videos, but he said the Pentagon's official statement is going to be that these are unidentified, that we do not necessarily think it's Russia or China, but we do not know what they are. So they're basically asking us, this is his words, to help them identify these things. So what they're hoping for, and this is something I went through about 20 years ago and they're doing it again, they're hoping that abductees or contactees, ones that have advanced knowledge, will come forward and say, yeah, I can help you with that. That's
sure, but why would they want to?
Because almost all telepathics.
No, but I mean, why would they
want
to help the government who keeps everything from the public?
Because one, the government tells you they're going to tell you, and two, they tell you they're going to protect you from the aliens, which both are lies. But you don't know that. That's the problem. They're both lies, but you don't know that. But that's one of their recruiting methods. Because they know there's people out there that have advanced knowledge about crafts that they don't have because they've heard these people talk about it before or they've seen this, that. And they don't necessarily discount someone because they said they've been on board a craft and we're given this kind of knowledge or that kind of knowledge, this kind of knowledge. When they give specifics, that's when the government gets interested because they're like, all right, this person has specifics. The way we found this out was I was just getting into this field. I always tell everybody to keep a journal. And I still even myself today. I said, get a writing journal, Well, one morning I woke up. I was 19. I just had met Linda, and I was writing in the journal about some weird engine I seen in my head. It was a nuclear engine that really worked well. And when I called a friend of mine who was a physicist about it, or going to be a physicist about it, he goes, "It sounds solid to me." So I said, "All right, put a journal, wrote it down. 5 day, whatever. Let's talk to Frank, blah blah blah." Threw it down. So journal disappears. 7 weeks. So I'm like, Linda, what if we get down with my journal? I mean, we had a big old fight about it. I was out of happy camper because I could remember the basics, but I couldn't remember. So we're at a MUFON meeting. I just turned 20, and we're at a MUFON meeting. And I look down, and lo and behold, sitting next to me on the little bench to my knee is my journal. I'm like, what? So I was visibly freaked out. I picked it up. I'm like, who put this here? Because I was asking everybody in the room. There's about 30 people. I said, who the hell put this here? Because I wanted to know who took my journal because I was pissed because Linda wasn't in that room. And I was like, And I still remember Gregory goes, "No, I was there when I came in." He said, "I thought you'd come in early and said it because I noticed it had your name on it." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Yeah, early when I came in to open the shop." He said, "I know you can get in and out." He said, "I thought you had came in." I was like, "No, I just came in with everybody else." So then everybody got freaked out, and he had come over dusted for prints and shit. And it was weird because it had these three like something had drug across the top with marks on it.
Like bananas.
Yeah, it was weird. Whatever it is, I don't know what it was, but I mean, it was just there. And so Gregory said, "Well, what was going on?" I told him the story about what happened. So we opened up the journal, and the next 3 pages are basically more detailed schematics of what I drew in the first 2 pages. Somebody took the thing and expanded it. So I still got it, by the way. I gave it to a friend of mine about 10 years ago. I said, "Look, dude," I said, "I need to understand what exactly I drew here." I said, "I know this is a nuclear engine based on you ramp it up till it gets to a certain point to where it's almost ready to explode, and then you release the energy. The energy is channeled out, and it creates energy from these ports." And he went through it. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Basically, you're superheating it to make it into a plasma." He said, "This thing would easily push anything over light speed." He said, "The problem is you wouldn't be able to control it, drive it, or steer it." He said, "It would just be like a rocket." He said, "Whatever you hit, it'd kill you." And so he brought it to some friends of his at Tulane. I got smart though. Before I turned it over, I actually sent it and had it copyrighted. So we'll know if it ever gets pulled, because if the government wants to use something, they have to tag it. They have to pull it. They basically have to acknowledge that, yes, we're going to use your invention, but we aren't getting anything for it, which they can do, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. They do it all the time when it comes to military stuff. And so we actually had it tagged and put in. So he's showing it to everybody, and I still remember. He calls me up. This is about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. His friend Clifford calls me. He says, "Joe," he said, "You copyrighted this, right?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah. Have you checked it lately?" I said, "No." He said, "Let me send you something." He said, "You got a fax machine?" I said, "Dude, I ain't had a fax machine since 2004. I said, "Fax machine." I said, "I give you my email." I said, I said, I said, I said, "Send it to my phone." I said, "Just take a picture of send it to my phone. I'll do it." He said, "No, no, no, I'll send it." So he sent it over to me. I get it. It was pulled. It was flagged. So I wrote a nice, polite letter back to the board saying, "Hi, hi, hi. Who usurped my design?" And I get a polite letter back saying U.S. Air Force. So I wrote a polite letter back, and they wrote another polite letter back saying, "Well, basically." That was the end of that conversation. And I was like, so, but as far as I know, it's never been used for anything, unless they're flying something out in deep space with it. But it's not, and to be totally honest with it, it's not my design. It's not like I designed this. It was like someone, I don't know how to explain it. It was like I saw a picture of something, like in a book or something, and I picked it up. I saw it somewhere. It's not like I sat down and figured out what this thing was or how it operated. I just saw enough images. I don't have an eidetic memory, but I have something that's close to it. Usually when I see something, if I can concentrate enough, I can pull back the actual image. And I don't know where I saw it. It could have been anywhere, but it was on one of the weeks when we had those. And we had this happen just a couple of days ago. Every now and then, my phone will tell me I am somewhere other than I am. It'll say like just last year we were in some I forgot the name. I told Laura the name of it. It's about 160 miles from into Canada, sitting right smack.
Saskatchewan.
It's just sitting right there. It showed us sitting at 8,000 feet above it, because the phone tells you what altitude you're at. I was like, huh. So I restarted my phone, thinking, "What a piece of shit." It comes back on. GPS kicks in. Yes. So your phone's only supposed to tell you where it's at, because it's physically in your hand. It has to be at the location. Every now and then it just happens. And the night we seen the car full of stars, as I call it, it had us somewhere way the hell away from where we were.
I need to learn how to track my phone.
It's actually, if you set up, you can do this a different way. And I shouldn't say this on air, but actually, it's a good thing. People can use this. So if you're like a Google guide or something, Google tracks you for you. Well, stupid Google don't read what it tracks. So every now and then when this shit happens, Google posted to you saying, "How did you like your trip to wherever, whatever?" Because it'll have you it'll even have your track distance. To put this in perspective, I said this online not too long ago. My son and my daughter-in-law were down in Florida. So it showed the whole trip of them going. Then all of a sudden, he said, was like, "Man, we got tired, sleepy." Next thing I knew, I was back in Metairie. Well, when it shows them coming back, it shows them coming back across the Gulf. Not across the land, but across the Gulf. So he's in his car, driving along, because the car's hooked to his phone. And apparently, the car's it can drive in the water now. So every now and then we get these weird ones like this. I had one that had me in New York City, and I was like, really? And I had one have me out in LA, but it had me in some weird over military facilities. Area 51, we've documented 3 times now where the phone says we were at Area 51. I just figured it was them screwing with us from, one of the times we've been out there making faces out of it, sticking our tongues out and shit. I figured it's just a payback. But people, don't go to Area 51 and be stupid. That's all I can tell you. And I don't encourage you to break in either, just to say that ahead of time. I can tell you what's going to happen, but, and no, I did not break in. Michelle did. We had to go bail Michelle out of jail, y'all. It was $776 to get her out of jail from breaking the gate at Area 51. And we didn't learn anything either. That's the sad part. No, I want to see. How can I say this? It's I'd like to see disclosure in a way that we say, okay, look, we don't really know what they are. We do think that these are extraterrestrial craft based on the technology itself. We really can't tell you for sure 100%, but we know it's not the Russians or the Chinese because they're just as freaked out as we are about it. We really think these are aliens, and we are seeking information on them. And they should open up a portal that allows people to seek information. Now, I was at a conference, this was about 10 years ago. This is kind of funny. A guy comes up to me, he says, I know you work for the government. I know you're the collector guy that goes around collecting all this data that you share with them. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. He said, no, Joe. He said, I seen you, Mr. General of the Mill Labs. I was like, what, dude? So this rumor got started. I don't know where it started, that I was in charge of all military abductions inside the USA. I was like, well, actually inside the North America. And I was like, really? I was like, yeah. He said, and I said, well, son of a bitch, man, I got some back pay coming. I want to know where my paycheck is, man. It's got to be a complicated, tough job, so I should be getting well compensated for it. And he said, oh, no, we know you have this secret life and you have this place and you go stay there. You and your wife fly up there. They fly you up with this special craft so y'all can go stay on your little space on Mars and shit. I'm like, wow. I mean, they got into this in-depth thing, and I'm thinking to myself, I finally look up at the guy and I'm saying, whatever it is you're smoking, you need to leave some with me. I said, because, dude. He said, no, we know it's the truth. And then out of nowhere, the next day, I'm getting ready to go up and lecture, and like 7 of them show up on me. And they're all just standing around me telling me how they know this and how I work for this guy and how I'm in charge of all of this. And they've seen me when they've been military abducted. And I've told them if they ever talk that I'd cut them into pieces and shit. And when she said I'd cut her a piece and feed him to alligators, I said, well, that might be true because I have said that before. I said, maybe it's an alter ego or some sort. But still, even today, it is funny, but even today I get people who come up and think that I work for the government. And as a matter of fact, several people moved from were scared of me because they thought I worked for the government because I knew too much. I either had to work for the aliens or the government to know what I know. Like, no, it's called research, people. Research.
So that brings me to the question, since you're making mention of both, is disclosure. Okay, so they're disclosing unclassified or declassified alien crafts. What about their own?
Well, they're not going to show us anything that we have.
Well, I mean, there's just as many of them up there.
They would show us if the Russians or Chinese couldn't see it. They're not so much worried about most American citizens are not going to squeal secrets, especially if you live like mid-country and below. It's a rare thing for most traders in our country came from places I'm not going to mention because people get mad at me, but it's a very rare thing for it to happen below the Mason-Dixon line. It's just one of them things that they're very patriotic. In most of the countries, it's not even just that. It's just, somebody said, well, New Yorkers aren't like that. I said, no, most New Yorkers I know are pretty patriot. I said, most of them would fight and die for their country. I said, even the liberals, most of them would fight and die for their country. I said, it's not, people get this wrong idea from, the press, but and the aliens, I just don't think they care who knows. I think if the whole population knows, it's fine. And I don't even think the government cares that much. The government just don't want to be held responsible for allowing so-called alien abductions to have gone on. Because every contactee is going to sue the crap out of the government. It's going to be a massive lawsuit.
Well, that's
if it was
to consider.
If it was an international disclosure, it would have more merit. You have all countries coming sharing what they know, or if they've been contacted. But just the U.S., it'll just be more bullcrap.
Other countries have already done it, though.
Yeah, but I agree.
Russia was actually the first.
No, I agree. But the UN made a statement about 5 years ago that said the only country that can disclose is America. He said no one else is going to take it seriously. He said unless America comes in front of the UN and says alien, he said they have to come in front of the UN and say aliens are real. He said then the world will start to take it serious, and so will other countries. He said, but other than that, it's not going to happen. He said Russia and China just don't have the pull. They don't have the respect, is what it is.
Well, I mean, Russia went public with it. Russia's got like amazing stuff out there online. You can go
Russia's cosmonauts have been encouraged to talk about it for a long time, but Russia don't know what we know.
But conversation, man, contact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different things to factor in with that. You're looking at ETs. Like, I'll just back up for a second, Joey. It's like ETs doesn't really care. Who knows? Why is it that you see them mostly at night, not enough during the day? Is it because electricity bothers them? Does EMF bother them? You know what I mean? And there's less of it at night. Like, it's just.
I'm gonna tell you a secret, but the majority of abductions happen in daylight, not at nighttime. Now, by saying that, most of the military abductions happen at night.
There you go. Okay, interesting.
Most of the alien abductions happen when it's still daylight outside, because there's something about it, and they'll tell you this themselves, but there's something about a conscious level that they want you at when they do things. And usually, if it's once you hit like 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, your brain starts to settle into a certain particular pattern. That's not actually what they're looking for. They're not really bringing people on to be sheep or puppies. They're bringing people on for particular reasons. And if you're all laid back, that's not exactly what they're looking. That's why contactees are so high strung. It's why they are so energetic. It's why they jump around so much and move around so much. And it's because it's part of whatever they're doing to them. And so they really want you in that state of mind. A lot of times it'll be early in the morning, midday, and stuff like that. It's just it got started out in the movies that it happened out at night, so that's how it happened. And we thought, we did too. I mean, when we got into it, people kept telling me, when I talked to them, oh no, I was on my way home. And a lot of them, like at least half happened in freaking cars. But more so than that, a lot of them happen at other places like parks, national parks. You just wouldn't expect, and a lot of people say they're called to particular areas to be taken. So they can be taken in mass. So the alien don't have to go hopping around. They just bring them to them. I can't tell you how many.
Like in Close Encounters, man. Like people got the vision. They didn't even make them crazy. They didn't know what the hell they even meant.
Well, people started doing this. We had people start documenting their mileage on the car before they went to bed, taking pictures of the inside out the car before they went to bed, setting up things that they went sleepwalking that they'd have to make a noise or mark something. We had people on their own home security cameras walking to the car. You could tell they would. One lady from her bed to the car with her eyes never opened, got in the fucking car and drove off. Drove a good hour and a half, got out, went somewhere. GPS told us she was down in Gulf Breeze, Florida, but we don't know exactly where. She was gone for like 4 hours. Then she came back. He followed the car all the way back. She parks in the driveway. She goes to bed. She woke up because she sleeps naked. So she said, I was rolling around. And something kept digging into my side. I got up and I could feel sand all down the side of my ass and all that. And she's like, what the hell? So I get up and look at my sandals and they're just full of sand. I'm like, she's like, what? So I noticed my robe's draped over my bed, which is where it's covered in sand. I go downstairs in my car, it's covered in sand. She said, I was sand everywhere. She was like, I was rolling around in that shit. I was like, and I mean, it wasn't like she said, but there was a lot of sand present. And
there was a knife covered in blood. I heard that story before.
None of that, but I don't think she would have minded if it was an alien, but it really freaked her out. And we had lots of stories like that where people would or people go on vacation, the whole family, and they miss 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days sometimes. It happens a lot down in the Gulf Breeze area. It seems to be a regular. I would think most tourist areas, there probably is a place they do it at because it's a good draw. Hey, don't you want to come spend the week down here? Oh, work extra hard. You can come spend the week down in Florida and have a great vacation. As far as you're concerned, you went and had a great vacation unless something weird happens that leaves a bad taste in your mouth so you remember what happened to you. Then it's not such a great vacation. But I don't know. There's a lot that goes on and there's a lot of scary shit. And the government's interested in all of it. They're just as interested as anybody else is in it. And they don't really know that much more. They know more about some of the technology, but agendas, particular programs, things that go on board the ships, they don't know any more than any of the rest of us do. It's one of the reasons I think we were originally contacted when we first came public about 23 years ago, is because we were willing to share. I still remember Jeff's all freaking out. This guy hacks his system. He's coming on over the airways. He's saying, "Oh, no, Joe. So you don't really mind? We can send you questions and you'll answer them, and you don't mind working with us and us coming into the conversations just from randomly." And I'm like, "Shit, no, that's good radio, man. Come on." Some spooks hacking my system and coming in and asking questions. Of course, that's excellent radio. I'm thinking, shit, anytime you feel like it, it's not my system you hacking in. It's Jeffrey's. Jeff's like, yeah, that's you. But they were regular, and sometimes there'd be 3 or 4 people coming to the system. And so people started calling Jeffrey a liar, saying he was doing it in the studio. So he set up cameras so you could see his whole studio, so you could see he was the only one in the studio. And so it was weird. They were always listening because the red light was always on. Anytime, I still have the box now, but anytime there's an open source line, meaning that see, with telephones is a thing that measures I forgot the milliamperage. So what happens is if there's an open line, even if someone's not talking, even if they got it on mute, the box will tell you that there's like air sound going between you and it, that there's something open connected to your system. So it lets you know that someone is listening in. That's what it basically does. That's how we found out about that. A friend of ours who was a PI actually taught us about this equipment. They used it for doing, well, we'll just say illegal wiretaps. But it worked great. It still works great. And it'll let you know if there's an open line. And there's not much you can do about the open line but hang up. But still, let you know that there's someone eavesdropping on the conversation. And I would call him out. Alfred Webb was on one night. I started calling him out. They come in and start talking. And he started telling Alfred he was an insane, crazy bastard and should be taken away. And that bad ensued.
Poor Alfred.
And Alfred's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. You spooks are just out here giving out disinformation. That's like, and then the whole system shut down. It was great.
Just looking at chat, I don't know if you guys can see it, but Dolly makes mention that the magnetosphere is screwed up, not good for them, and UFOs will fly using our magnetic field lines.
They can. There's lots of ways. There's lots of good conversation about how ET gets around. I know Chris Sharp about, what was it, 96, 94. He had called me but offered me a job working on one of the electronics teams. And they were putting together, the only thing you really call it is a gravity drive. There's a couple of drives that have been working on. Boeing and Lockheed and a couple other companies back in 99 and 2000 announced that they were working on these anti-gravity and basically magnetic drives. So one of the drives, basically what it does is cancel out gravity, and it does it quite well. But the problem is they haven't really figured out a propulsion. So, if you cancel out gravity, your ass just starts floating into space, right? So you better be equipped for spacecraft to start off with, and you better have some type of engines that move you forward, backwards, and up and down. So they hadn't really mastered that part as much as they had the drive. And then they came up with a magnetic drive, which basically grabs magnetic field on the Earth and pushes and pulls. So it grabs it, and as it approaches the craft, it creates a force, and then it lets go and it pushes the craft. It pulls and pushes. So you get double jeopardy in the pull. It's a really ingenious design. Our government's been knowing about it for a long time.
Because Tesla invented that.
Yeah,
he was going to power everything with the electric up in our atmosphere, including our homes. That was like a huge deal.
Well, he had proved there was enough electricity in the atmosphere to provide all the electricity we needed.
For vehicles, for planes, he had all these different designs. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, we had talked with a writer from the New York Times about this. He it was about 2 years before he died. He's fairly old. He said when he interviewed him, the design was to build something that everybody in the world could use, not just Americans, but everybody, and make it free. So he invented it. He figured out a way to bring electricity from the air, channel it through a generator into your house, and produce electricity for your home. And even store it in some type of dry cell battery, which for some reason we never seen again. Because it must have been way too efficient because they didn't want that around.
Nope. So, no way.
So regardless, that we never got to see that. And the official government thing was because it could not have been, you couldn't charge for it. There was no way to meter it. There was just nobody could figure out how to meter this because it just basically drew it in. And how do you charge for something that you don't actually own? See, at least electricity companies, they can say, well, I'm charging for the coal and the energy it takes to make your electricity. Okay, that's fine. But if you're just pulling it out of air and you're not even supplying equipment, you're buying the equipment just one time, it's being installed in your house, then what exactly are you charging me for again? So you're not making any money on that, and not going to really be much tax. So the government was kind of like, that's just not a provable thing, and it's we're just not going to do that. It's one of the reasons. Just recently, we got off of using. We were on this hydrogen fuel. We were talking about hydrogen fuel, and we were talking about antimatter. Both could be contained in about something about the size of a basketball that could run your house, your vehicles, anything. And the damn things that last for probably 2 or 3 thousand years each. So you buy one, put it in your house, it would run your whole house, and you could use it. And if you didn't want to make them in your car, you could just use an electric car and have it charge your car, or put them in your car and just let your car run all the time. These things are things that are coming, not in our life. Well, we might see them at the end of our lifetimes, but they are coming, and they are going to change the world. That's the kind of stuff you need to really become a spacefaring race. You got to have something that can produce shields, that can stand micrometeorites. You got to have things that can produce speeds or create wormholes. That's going to take enormous amounts of power that, frankly, even with nuclear, we just can't produce today. But we're getting there slowly but sure. First, I think we might just take. I heard there was a thing back in Tesla's day where they wanted to stop construction in New York and turn it into a massive power plant that could power all of North America. I was like, yeah, something about where it was located was the ideal place. Damn New Yorkers. Screwed us again, man. We could have had free power, but had New York instead.
Hell yeah.
Teasing. I'm just teasing anybody who's I've seen something pop up. But if we're going to get disclosure, it's going to have to be with the guys or the guys that there is no repercussions for the government. So how do you do that? As a citizen, are you?
It'll never happen.
That's what I'm going to ask. And anybody listening tonight who wants to write to me or call in or whatever, well, you can't call in this show. But, I set up a new system there, but that's for another time. But anybody who wants to write in and say, look, I mean, are you willing to give the government a pass? So if you want the government to come out tomorrow and say, yes, aliens have been here. They've been here for a long time. We do know they've been doing this, this, and that. We can't tell you exactly why, but we do have a good idea that they're here. And these are some of the things they're doing. So once they admit to this, they left themselves open for all kind of stuff, not just being sued, for prosecution. For first off, allowing your citizens to be taken, but more so for doing nothing, for lying about it, for covering it up, for abducting citizens. I mean, you're asking for a lot of trouble here. So we will have to come out as a society and agree that there will be no repercussions for the people who kept the secrets. I'm not willing to do that. And most of the people I know aren't willing to do that. So can you get the country to agree to it? Maybe.
I don't know. It's no worse than getting an untested shot, shall we say, giving immunity to those who produce it and not being held responsible for people with side effects and death.
Well, but see, that's sort of
Same
true.
thing.
But this is what's funny about that. Right now, you can sue any of the vaccine companies you want because it's not approved. So they have no protection right now. That's what people don't realize. I tried to explain this to Laura Lee a while back. There is no protection right now. The vaccine has to be approved by the ADC in order to be where it follows from the protection. Right now, it's not. And it can't be. I think it takes at least a minimum of 2 years before they can even do that. So right now, they're vulnerable. If for these people who have died from these vaccines, if they can prove that's where they died from, they're going to get massive amounts of money. But sooner or later, that's going to stop because
maybe
sooner or later,
it depends on the country.
Well,
so,
that does.
I mean,
but I'm talking about
they give too much power to these people. But I'm just trying to make reference before we get in trouble again on YouTube. I'm just trying to make reference to the fact that that people are funny. Sometimes they're okay with something that is it's wrong because we're made to believe maybe it's good for us. But you have something like disclosure and government coming out saying, well, no, we have a treaty. We've allowed this. This is okay, but it was for your own good. It's for research. It's for, just to save the species, let's say, or there's always ways around it where people will be a little bit more forgiving or tolerant, shall we say. Some people are dead set against it. Like, hell no, that's not a thing. That is completely against my human rights. Other people, they're a bit more complacent.
I would consider it on one thing, and it would be full disclosure, complete and utter and full of everything, every bad thing, every good thing, everything. They're not going to do that. So there's things that's happened from about 1850 up, from the crash of that airship all the way up through the stuff that went on in the 20s and 30s, all the way up into they're just not going to tell us about. They're and you know what's funny about this? Under the Freedom of Information Act, it's after 75 years, there is supposed to be no reason to keep anything a secret anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you did not know this, America still has secrets from the day it signed the Constitution 300 years ago. We have secrets.
Wow.
We have secrets. Did you not remember President Trump when he said, let's release the Kennedy secrets? We still have secrets about Kennedy, who's been dead now for 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is it that we're keeping that 80 years later? I mean, almost half the population that was alive then is dead. And the other half really don't even care about Kennedy. So why are you keeping it a secret? The only generation alive today that even likes Kennedy is the baby boomers. So I mean, you know, the other generations after that, really, all they know was that he was a president that was assassinated. They don't have no great interest in him or anything, or his family for that matter. So
Well, as always says, there's no possible way for the world governments to admit anything. They have reasons.
no, I'm sure they got lots of reasons.
Yeah, I'd say so too. You know, for sure.
Actually, a friend of mine who was related to the prosecutor down here said that they killed. There's a lot of rumors went around why they killed Kennedy, from things about extraterrestrials to things about other things. But in the end, the Russians, the mob, and our country agreed that he was going to start World War III, and that's why he was assassinated. They said he pushed so hard after Cuba that anything else would have started a war. He had to go because he had backed himself into a corner where he couldn't back down from. I said, well, maybe that's true. I don't know. I wasn't there. I said, I wasn't even alive. I was actually being born at the time. It was 63, man. I said, I was just being born. I said, thank God y'all don't go launching nukes around. So I had extra arms and extra legs and purple eyes and shit, polka dots. Some new type of hybrid.
You got the vaccine. There's still time.
Nah, I got the Johnson & Johnson. I was smart about it.
Still time to grow
I
those
got the
extra
only.
arms.
I got the only real vaccine. It's but you know what? I was telling this to a friend of mine that day because he asked me about all of this, and I said, he said, you got the Johnson? I said, yeah, I got the only real vaccine. I said, but there's a downside to that. He said, what is it? I said, it's not going to be as effective as the other two are. I said, real vaccines are rarely more than 50 or 60% effective, and Johnson & Johnson admitted that it's only 67% effective from the virus. It's 100% effective from keeping you from dying, but it's only 67% effective from keeping you from getting it. So I figure it's about 50-50 is what its real numbers are. But still, it's not made with the CRISPR technologies, as we all like to call it. It's just regular using using a cold and a COVID-19. That's how they made it. That's why it took a little longer, too. But hey, you know, we all got to die for something. I'd rather not be COVID-19, something else, you know. Something good, you know, maybe a trip on board a spacecraft.
That would be nice.
Yeah, something interesting. Anyway, Farisha. Wait. I gotta go back to this email. Clara was bugging the hell out of me a couple weeks ago. Where'd it go? Come here. Wait, damn it. Email, don't be so slow to open. Clara has become a regular. She adopted the name Clara from Doctor Who. Though I asked her if it was a real name, but she said she had adopted it from Doctor Who. Which Clara was one of his companions. In case anyone didn't know, I just thought I'd tell you that little Doctor Who lore. Let's see. So shouldn't? Oh, okay. So if there is disclosure, shouldn't people who have been contacted be compensated?
Contacted or abducted? I think there's a bit of a difference.
Abducted or anally abducted?
I have to say, if they were taken against their will, yeah, maybe there should be some kind of compensation. But by who? Are the aliens? They don't use American money, so I mean, who's going to compensate? You mean by the government? I don't know if the government's going to go for that or not. Government ain't real good about giving out free money unless it has to. You know, not to individual. I mean, not to groups. They don't mind giving out to everybody in the country, but when you start targeting groups, people get jealous. Yeah, you can't just
want some kind of reparations for the anally intruded.
$100 million per contactee or something. Yeah, I was. Oh, if that's the case, I was contacted.
But again, contactee, abductee, experiencer. You're looking at like 3 different experiences.
But you are, and it does make a difference. An abductee is a forceful thing, and even a contactee is still being taken against their will. But at least they've come to. Oh, excuse me. Have come to terms with it. But there are ones that actually know what's going on, when it's going on, how it's going on. So I can see them suing.
So if the aliens came and they said, okay, we're going to enter you in a $6 million lottery, right? And we're going to give you season passes for this football game. And then just come with us for a while. You wouldn't even remember anything. What about that?
Yeah, well, I'm sure a bunch of duping humans would take it too. But it's funny, when I was watching this thing the other day about what's going on in California with the lottery for the vaccines. I was laughing because they were going through these different neighborhoods asking people about it. And some people were, oh yeah, well, you're going to give me what? And they go through this list of stuff you're going to get, plus you're going to get a chance to win this money. And some people are like, oh yeah, I'll get the vaccine. Go ahead. And they give it to you right then, by the way. Yeah, because they don't want to take a chance that you might change your mind down the line, so they give it to you right then. But a lot of people, at least half, I can't say exactly how they said it because this is a PG-17 friendly show. But anyway, it was not nice words. It's something about you can put that vaccine and blah 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 blah. The country. I don't care what anybody says. I doubt we'll ever get above 50% vaccinated. I know they want to say 60 and 70, but I think in 50 is going to be about the best the U.S. is going to go. I'm not even sure, like Mexico, if they're even going to reach 50. Canada seems to be having the same issues, and just a lot of people just don't want to get this stuff. So,
well, if they make it mandatory,
that's they can't do it here. So they can do that in other countries, but they can't do it here. Maybe the aliens will step in and say,
they say they can't do it because it's an emergency use drug. They technically can't do it.
Actually, well, doesn't it make you wonder with the aliens if you got the virus or the vaccine, would they help their abductees? Would they purge that out of there? Because that's a threat to the abductee. There's a question.
Yeah, they don't seem to really get it all that much. And then when they do, they seem to get over it pretty good. There's been a few that was pretty hard on, but for the most part, it doesn't seem to affect them as much. But will they purge it? No, not that I've heard. It doesn't seem like. I don't think they really think it's a threat to us. But it's hard to say, what they think is a threat and what's not. But if they may be waiting just like everybody else is to see, hey, let's watch and see how this develops over the next 8, 9, 10 years. Because really, that's what we're all talking about when we talk about these vaccines, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about what's happening to you today, tomorrow, even next year. What we don't understand is how this can affect your mind or your body 5, 10, 15 years from now. We learned a lesson way back in the 40s when they were doing vaccines. There were a few that weren't that messed up and caused some issues. So we've learned that you don't immediately see that, though. It's not something that all of a sudden happens. And then sometimes it's because of certain conditions, like, with the blood clots, with the Johnson & Johnson, they found that it was because of a particular type of birth control. So it's, things like that. You never know how medicine's going to interact with other medicines either, too. But the aliens don't seem to, they don't seem to care. Let me put it this way. Abductions did not slow down at the peak of COVID. Not even a little bit. So they didn't have any fear. And I didn't hear anybody reporting grays wearing masks, or reptilians or humans. So obviously they were not scared of this disease, which bothers me, meaning that they could probably have cured it. See, when I hear them say stuff like it doesn't seem like it bothered them any, then it makes me, well, they probably already got a vaccine. They could have gave it to us. Or maybe it's some type of filtration system. I have no idea, but they don't seem to be worried. They've never seemed to worry about diseases with us of any kind at any point in our history. And, let's be honest, they were abducting people back in the days of the Black Plague.
Right now, they're scrambling to come up with an answer for this mutation. It's that simple. And I can see the overreaction already going on. But we'll see. I'm giving it 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, Dolly says this winter poop will hit the fan.
By 4th of July, you're going to see this outbreak. It'll be unbelievable.
It will mutate. Yeah. Final solution is plasma from anyone who is immune to any variant. So how do you figure out who's immune? I guess that's what Pedro says. I don't know, Michael. What are your thoughts? Because you're
people do have national immunity for it, that's for sure.
It's I don't know. The case fatality rate, all these things, nothing ever added up with COVID. I'm sorry. Not from the beginning, not now. Nothing ever adds up unless you really are conspiratorial.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with COVID. A lot of stuff doesn't. I mean, and it wasn't even all of that. It was even worse than that because you had the WHO telling you this advice, the CDC, and they were going back and forth, up and down, and then the CDC just admitted the other day you had a masks were useless. So I mean, but yet you should still wear them. So it's first you wear in the very beginning. Don't wear the mask. Then you wear the mask to protect other people. Then wear the mask to protect you. And I guess if everybody was wearing double masks, it was helping some. But I mean,
because they're ugly.
But then we got the other problem.
You gotta see their faces, man.
We've got the Florida governor proving everybody wrong. Everybody. He's had the variants in his state. And
maybe he's an alien.
The United States keep ticking down, though, and it made Joe Biden look so bad because Biden.
Maybe he's an alien.
Nah, Biden is. He's just not a good alien.
I think you're an alien, Joe. That's why you got this whole. Come on, you got an alien network.
I do, man. I was sitting here to keep an eye on you.
You're spreading the news of aliens.
They said, Joe, we're sending you to Earth. We want you to keep an eye on you.
They're in control.
They want me to keep an eye on you.
It's probably a little dog there. It's probably the alien.
I don't know. See, I'm fortunate because I don't even get a cold.
Where's Amelia anyway, man? How come she doesn't come on the show?
Oh, she's pregnant with twins.
A long day.
Is she really?
We'll leave it right there.
She's pregnant with twins. When somebody tells you you're pregnant with twins, man, that's scary shit.
Is she really pregnant with twins?
Actually, at certain ages. No, she's not.
Twin alien babies?
That's what I think is twin alien babies.
Well, I don't want no babies, man. You're going to shift my whole that's a more type of thing going on with them.
I'm right with you there, Dolly. I wouldn't take it either.
I'm actually living through that. But she's married, though, right?
Yeah, Katrina, we are in. I think we're in UFO. Yeah, UFO Paranormal YouTube. Yeah, that's where you hear most of the content. That my email. Yeah. That's the only place I'm taking questions today. I just seen you pop up on Facebook, but the only place I'm going to take questions is out of the chat room.
We can't respond to anything. It comes up on the show board, but we can't type anything in.
You can pop in. You can pop into any of the video chats, and we can see what you're saying. We just not type it back. We just answer questions.
I can't type back.
So what are they going to do, man? They can't. Well, we weren't talking about the vaccine. We're talking about aliens, but I mean. I don't see how they're going to come out and say anything pertinent. It's just going to be maybe another scrap. They're not going to come out and say, "Hey, we found alien bases on the moon back in the 60s." We were told to stay away. Be all cryptic. People will be like, "Told by whom?"
Well, I was told they're going to release some interesting stuff, but nothing that's going to change anything. Nothing earth-shattering. Nothing.
Remember Obama on Ellen, and that little kid said, "Have you ever had any conversations with aliens?" And Obama gave this long, weird. He's like, "Well, he's so mockingly when he talks. We have never had. I can honestly say we have never had any direct communication with aliens." He got very specific. Just as saying no.
Yeah, because these people don't talk to government. It's always been funny to me when you hear all these stories about people. Oh, this guy met with the aliens, and this guy met. The ET really doesn't want any contact. As far as I know, there's been 2 official contacts with the Greys and our government. One happened in the 80s, and one happened in the 50s or 70s. What was Eisenhower? Anyway, it was under Eisenhower or Truman.
Eisenhower, yeah.
But anyway, those are the only 2 official contacts that anybody has ever noted. And those are both official contacts. But nothing ever came out of either one. The aliens are not willing to share their technology with us. They don't think we're even near ready for anything. Even with that lonely ass piece of crap craft they let us crash, they still didn't think we were ready for it, and we proved we're not. We're just.
And even then, I don't think they're going to disclose aliens. I think they will disclose UFOs, if anything.
Yes.
Any unexplained aerial phenomenon. They're not talking species at all.
UAP or the UAV.
Yeah, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Right.
That's the only bitch part about getting old. Everybody dies.
What about the men in black? What happened to them? And are there ladies in black?
Yeah, there's ladies in black.
Hmm.
Reptilian ladies in black, but still they're ladies in black.
Do they lay eggs, or do they kind of give birth to,
We talked about that on the show. You have to go listen to the Gray Zone and find out.
That's it.
The Gray Zone. We actually talked about that. You have to go listen and find out. It's I tell people all the time, when you're dealing with extraterrestrials, you have to judge them by their actions. People want to make this up about them or say that about them or say they do this or say that, but none of that matters. Just judge them by their actions. They haven't wiped us out, which they could do. They haven't eaten us. They haven't enlightened us either, which they could do. So, well, that don't tell us much.
We're
Actually,
like the zoo.
they do take our citizens and do things to them without their permission, which shows at least a
Well,
lack of
that's no
respect
fun.
for us. It shows that they don't really, not really fear our laws, and they don't really respect us. But they do allow you to know, and sometimes even participate. And like again, I said, they don't wipe us out. And for the most part, they try to wipe your memory so you don't remember none of the bad stuff. So it's not like they're just outright evil. It's a strange thing. It's like they have an agenda and we're part of their agenda. And
What's their
the
agenda?
benefits is, I can't tell you that they'll kill you. They'd kill everybody listening to the show tonight. So it'd be like,
Come on, man. I don't care about life.
Well,
Tell me. Tell me. Tell me.
last time Michelle asked me about the agenda COVID started.
Blame it on me.
I'm not yelling. I'm playing. I'm not. You go back and listen to this show. This show happened on January. It was January 17th of last year. We were talking about what would happen if we gave these secrets away from ET. I said they would just do something to wipe out everybody who was listening to the show. And sure enough, COVID started. I ended up in the hospital, like to kill me, and then kill how many millions after that? That's all the people who, God damn, we lost all them listeners. Bad, Michelle.
Thanks for that. And I'm not taking the hit for that.
I was wondering why our numbers went down. So now I know why. They're down after COVID.
Whatever.
You sound crazy right now.
I'm
talking about. I'm basically talking about.
Yes.
What's their agenda? What's
Dolly
their
says
daily
they're
life?
watching us evolve, hoping
What do
we
they
get
do?
smart. That makes sense.
They're all watching us evolve.
A cat wakes up, goes eat some food, drink some water, maybe chase a mouse, lick itself, make little baby cats. What do they do, man?
They're watching us because they're scared that they may have created a monster.
Yeah.
Well, think from their point of view.
That's probably the best answer.
Think of it from their point of view. So some human aliens came here, screwed around with some animals, made this subservient human race. Not us, but something close to us. Looked a lot like us. So reptilians came along and said, well, you can't just be making slave race. That's bullshit. So they come along and make the slave race sentient. Well, the sentient race is like, well, screw you. We're not going to be your slave. There's 50 million of us and 10,000 of you. You can't win this war. So they rebelled. And it's actually well written in both the Egyptian and Sumerian texts. These two stories are very well written and easy to find. And it seemed like after that, it seemed like the reptilians and humans were going to get into it because I guess the humans were pissed because the reptilians came down and screwed their little planet up and their little slave race and their little mining deal. And I guess they were going to get into it because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Greys showed up and so did RH negative. We became even a more sentient species when the Greys showed up. So what happened is we have three races. That's why nobody can ever find an alien DNA because it's already in us. It's part of us. All three races, for most contactees, they'll share at least three races, and it's probably been even inbred into more than once because contactees like to marry into contactee families. So
sounds like some hillbilly shit.
Yeah, maybe so, but that's who they're watching because that's the guys whose psychic ability.
You know what? Not for nothing. I have seen aliens at NASCAR races, man. I often wondered.
Well, think of it this way: you've got a segment about a 15% population that's psychic abilities are advancing at a much faster rate than the rest of the population.
What am I thinking?
And the government has even noticed that. The government started 2 projects because of this. Even they're concerned that there seems to be a disjointedness in the way we're evolving. Like there's a segment of the population that is evolving at a faster rate. But what's weird when you get in these percentages, of course, RH negative only makes up 15%.
The ones who don't watch TV.
It ain't that. Their blood is just different. They're evolving and fast. They don't even share a common ancestry with the monkey like the rest of the planet does.
I can't stand people.
Oh, see, that's not good. You can't be an alien, people.
I'm happier.
You're never going to get allowed on the ship with that
That's
mentality.
Right. You got to be peace, love, and light, man. You got to love and light, man.
I set up
don't go off world if you're a hater.
I set up an interview with this guy who's 3 hours away from me. He actually has a bear sanctuary. He's got Kodiak bears. 1,400 pounds, 9 feet tall. This guy loves them. His whole family, man. Like, that's beautiful, And I get that. I'm actually going to interview him, and I'm going to do like a little pay-per-view thing, man. It's going to call Angley's Interviews. And there's some interesting people out there. I think we should all do that. And we need to do that paranormal squares. I mean, that's just too cool.
Yeah, we'll have to set it up one night. We'll have to set up we'll need 10 of us because we'll have to have a moderator. But that's as much as SoundCloud will hold. So we could set it up like that. Leave the moderator out of the picture.
It should be a guest moderator, like Aggie Nost or something like that. Like you gotta get somebody who's like off the freaking wall, man. Like cool.
Actually,
cool
what we'll do, we'll put the moderator on Skype and the rest of us and on here. Yeah, but anyway, one thing at a time. I know we're getting close to get out of here. The Greys love us all. They think we're peace, love, and light. Yes. Actually, I already asked the Greys to recruit Michael and Michelle for the cleanup crew. I'm calling them.
I wouldn't fit on their ship. They need to get a bigger one.
Oh no,
they're kind of small. Those guys.
No, you'll fit on their ship because their bosses are taller than you are by about 3 feet. So don't worry, you'll fit just fine. You'd be surprised when that tall Grey walks up to you, look at that, and say, "What are you short ass doing on my ship, buddy? Get up on out of here."
I don't know. They're kind of skinny.
Not when I get that taller or not. Once you break that 6 foot range, you start to just say fill out something. But no, really, I know we got to get out of here really fast because we got to get going.
Well, do you think that life is going to imitate art? Do you think that all these science fiction shows, including not the ones that are like blood and guts and all that? I'm talking about the alien contact, ET. More the ones that are docile, or close encounters, right?
I don't think ET in any form is docile. I don't even think the ones who like us and visit us and who love us and want us to be perfect are docile. I don't think you can travel through intercontinental space and be docile. I just don't think they go hand in hand. It takes a certain level of oomph, let's say, to get out into deep space.
Are you saying space is violent?
Yes, space is very violent. We already know that. It's full of cosmic waves of all sorts. We ain't even matter. It's got antimatter, it's got matter, it's got dark matter, it's got shit we've never heard of, dark holes, wormholes.
I'm more talking about violence from others.
That's what I'm saying.
Not necessarily space.
But no,
junk.
That's my point. The universe is inherently violent. So why wouldn't its occupants be inherently violent?
Because you're that
being born in a violent place.
Attain a certain level of intelligence that they would realize violence
and look at Earth.
has no place in evolvement.
You're right, and we all know. There's no human alive today that does not know that violence is not bad and should not happen. But yet, every day on this planet, we're killing somebody.
Because we're always at war.
I'm not even talking about war. I'm talking about Joe Schmo walking down the street,
and then they say
like the 19-year-old. Like the 17-year-old kid that walked in and shot 19 of his workers. I mean, really. I mean, these kind of things. We all know better than this. All of us. There's nobody alive today that doesn't know it's wrong, but we can't
Young
even
people
unite
don't
as a
respect
planet.
weapons. They weren't brought up to respect the weapon. You know what I mean? Like we were brought up to respect guns.
It's not the reason. They're just wackos. Look at the old guy who was at 67 that went and shot up Vegas. I tell people all the time you should be glad that old people don't crack up because they'll do it better.
Are you saying we shouldn't have guns?
No, I'm all for guns. Matter of fact, I can't show you mine. You're lucky it's in the other room. I'd show you my new one. It's.
Are you saying we shouldn't have crazy people?
It's right. Somebody the other day goes, so
it would wipe out our entire network.
I know we got to go, but so the other day, because most of the states I live in or travel in are open carry states. Linda cracks up because she goes, God damn, you got an attitude when you got that gun on. I said, what are you talking about? I'm not even saying anything. She said, you ain't got to say anything. She said,
what kind of gun?
Oh, this is a nice little gun. 21 rounds.
It's pretty nice.
What?
Yeah.
It's been on camera at least once. It'll be on again, people. It's not illegal. It's showing
what? Just what caliber?
It's a 9. I thought it was going to be a 45.
But
yeah, because I wanted a 45. But when I got there, the gun I picked that said it was a 45 turned out to be a 9. But it's a competition rated.
The old bait and switch.
It's a competition. Well, no, I was looking for something competition rated because I like to shoot a lot. But this one, the guy, the
Glock. Get yourself a 10mm Glock.
Oh no, this was a Glock. Well, no Glock can perform with this gun. Matter of fact, when I put it up, you go look it up on the video. These guys were modifying their Glocks, spending $2,000-$3,000 on them for competition. This gun off the shelf was blowing them off. The
military's using Sig Sauer these days, man. They're all Sig Sauer, 45.
I'll tell you this: this gun is made by a Turkish company, the same company that makes the AK-47. One thing about it, it ain't never going to misfire. It's always going to be reliable. You drop it in mud and be shooting it afterwards. It's one of the things I like. But we got to go, guys. Really,
alligators down there.
Everybody here is against violence and guns. Okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't own a gun. If you want to own a gun, it makes you feel safe. That's fine. If you don't want to own a gun, don't own a gun. Same thing with the vaccine. You want to get probed by the vaccine, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine too. No one here is going to tell you what you got to do or you shouldn't do unless it's a particular subject that we really care about. On these other ones, look, it's your thing. If you want to own a gun, buy one. You want to get a vaccine, get a vaccine.
Guns spelled backwards is snug. Snug.
It should be none. Like it's in a nun. But we got to go.
Comment.
We got to go. Hey, and anybody who owns a dog, remember, everybody who owns a dog owns a piece of God. Remember, God spelled backward is dog. Yes, I didn't know that. Look how many people didn't know that.
And we see a bus.
That's really about the
a
reptilian section of your brain. Nobody knows that. I'm like, what planet am I living on? I know I prefer cats. Cats, you know, I used to really like cats, but I learned that they tasted good. Now I can't have them anymore.
You guys down there in the South, that's why I saw Yankees laugh.
Shocker.
Anyway, we on that note, we got to go. Coming up next is the Horsefly Chronicles with Julia and Phil Saracusa. They're doing a great job, by the way, so y'all hang out with them. You'll see Michael back tomorrow. Michelle and I will be back on Wednesday, and she'll be back Thursday, and I'll be back on Friday with the crew. We're going to be tackling probably COVID-19 this Friday. You know, last Friday was a nice mild meek show. The next one coming up in 2 weeks is going to be nice, but this one will not be. So it will not be for the faint of heart or the timid. Now that we're off all of our bands, we can be a little risque for this 1 week. And tomorrow we get off another one, so we can be a little bit more risque.
Don't you dare get us banned. That's all I'm going to say.
No. We're gonna
Don't
really go about. It's not gonna all be about COVID. We're gonna really get into some of the misleading stuff. What I started doing is I started putting together a list from the CDC and the WHO and what misadvice they gave us. But more so than that, I put together a list of CNN, NBC, and a few others who were hating on Trump when he was saying this was released in the lab in Wuhan. Because you know what? Now, guess what? Our government thinks that, oh, shit, it was released from the lab in Wuhan. And because of that is why the Congress decided that we will no longer give money to people to make diseases worse. Really? Like that should have never been a thing, people. Ever.
Everybody does it.
You know, we outlawed viral weapons in the 70s, and here we are still paying people to develop in the 2000s. Yeah, somebody should be going to jail over that shit. But anyway, enough about all that. We got to go. Please stay tuned for the Horsefly Chronicles. Stay out of trouble. Don't get in any trouble, people. Be good. If you live in lockdown, Canada, I feel sorry for you people, but we're coming. We Americans are coming for y'all. First, the women are coming for Whitey, and then the rest of us are coming to free y'all.
Yeah, zombies. We're going to come to eat you.
That could be possible too. That could be rough for Canada if 200 million Americans turn into zombies, man. Holy shit, it could be bad. Amelia can cook real good. She can throw some pizzas out there real fast. If zombies eat pizza. Anyway, we got to go.
Snug with your gun.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks
Bye,
everybody in the
everybody.
chat. Good night, you guys.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.